All right, Matt, and welcome to another episode of Fight Night Picks, Parry and Counter. And today we are moving on in our March/April bracket challenge with our top MMA divisions. I mean, we're going from 125 all the way up to 265. And again, the caveat being the fact that in all of this is a crazy one-night event. So every single fight, five-minute rounds, and when you move on, you're fighting again in the same night. So that's going to play, a potential role in some of these fights. And I want to say, at 135, one of the better divisions that we have
here.
Oh,
yeah, without a doubt. I mean, 135 until 170, regardless of any organization that you're in, just talent-wise, is by far the best divisions in any organization.
And it makes it very interesting here because it's not just an all-UFC cast. I mean, we've got Patchy mix from Bellator, Kyoji Horiguchi from Bellator or Rizin, Bibiano Fernandes from One Championship. You got Manel Kape, who's coming at us from Rizin. I mean, it really gets kind of funky. You also have Sergio Pettis from Bellator. So that just tells you the strength of the divisions. It's not to say that the UFC is weak. It's to say that globally, 135 is quite a rocking division. A lot of good fights here so far. Some fights that might have already happened. They're going to be coming down the line. Maybe some that have been booked before. What one kind of jumps off the page to you?
So I just think the last one we have, Aljamain Sterling, Cory Sandhagen, we could see that one. Like, that's a real possibility. Two of the top 135ers in the whole world.
And a fight that has been booked, hasn't been booked,
exactly.
We don't know.
And it would definitely be an interesting matchup too, just because the winner of that's probably going to get a title shot, maybe, well, okay, the loser would have to lose another one, then they'll get a title shot, but that definitely has major title implications nonetheless.
And to me, I think the fight that jumps off, just out of the first round, and I mean, you can talk Munhoz font, we've already seen it, but Bibiano Fernandes, Kyoji Horiguchi, that's a fun fight because, Bibiano Fernandes,
73 years old.
Listen, a guy that just trains up in Canada and just keeps on going. The little horse that could. Bibiano Fernandes, very good. And if you want to see a good fight, I just want to throw that out there. Either Bellingham fight, awesome. Either of the last two Bellingham fights. You could throw on a Bibiano Fernandes fight from, 2010, 2012. They're all good.
Oh, you mean when his prime was?
It's must-see TV with Bibiano Fernandes. So I want to throw that out there. One of the guys that just doesn't get as much recognition as he should. But a fight against Horiguchi, a good one there. So let's start up the top. I mean, we've got the current champion versus the former champion, Henry Cejudo, Cody Garbrandt. It's tough to tell because with Cody Garbrandt, do you get the guy that right now is supposed to fight Rafael Assunção, had to pull out due to kidney issues? I mean, injury issues have been an issue with
for sure.
Cody Garbrandt since the first Dominic Cruz fight.
So if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, and if you can throw an overhand right, you have a decent chance of beating Cody Garbrandt. Defensively, his striking is almost laughable at this point, and there's a lot of memes about it. This isn't just us saying it. Cody Garbrandt, for some reason, is the glass cannon of this division. Very Alistair Overeem-esque, if you will. Can beat anyone on his best day, but can lose to anyone on any other given day. So that's why it's just so hard to really, put it down to, okay, Cody Garbrandt can definitely beat this person, and it's hard to really hear an argument that someone else couldn't beat Cody Garbrandt. So although Garbrandt is a former champion, I think he's going to maybe fight for a title again in the future. It's going to take him a while to get to that point, though. So if this is happening in today's Henry Cejudo versus today's Cody Garbrandt, I don't see how Henry Cejudo loses this fight.
I mean, I would certainly favor Cejudo, and it's actually not, world-class pedigree in wrestling. We know it. Olympic champion in wrestling. Cody Garbrandt, a good wrestler in his own right, and really good defensive wrestling skills. I just think on the feet in terms of the speed and the different looks that you can get from Henry Cejudo, I would favor Cejudo.
I don't know if I agree with the speed part, but I do agree, at least with the versatility.
Full complement of skills, too. That's the thing.
Exactly. Garbrandt doesn't kick. That's a really big problem. And I thought he overcorrected that problem in the second Dillashaw fight because we saw that after the first one, he went to Thailand, he was training his kicks and everything now. The last thing you can do, though, if you haven't really been much of a kicker throughout your whole career, you can't implement all those new kicks and techniques in your first fight back. Like, it takes you a while to actually really get comfortable enough with all those different kicks and whatnot to use them effectively in a championship level fight. So that's an interesting part when you just talk about
George Gurgel and KJ Nunes, which is a fight that we just watched. Now, we're taking Cejudo on that top one. The next one, Cody Stamann, Patchy mix. Really interesting fight because...
Is it?
I think it is. Cody Stamann, if he's going to win, it's that classic lay and pray. It's almost like
if he's going to win, I'm going to sleep.
It's like if Patchy mix fought Darrion Caldwell right now in Bellator. That'd be the fight that you're going to get. Very similar to a Cody Stamann fight.
Seriously.
Maybe I would, I would favor Stamann in the stand-up than I would Caldwell. But in a fight against Patchy mix, I'm taking mix here.
I think I'd take Mix, but I don't know what Mix looks like in the third, fourth, or fifth round. He's been able to get so many guys out really quick over in Bellator, and he's looked extremely impressive while doing so. But Stamann, again, is just kind of a bad matchup for him out the gate. He's a guy who's not going to let you take him down in the first place. And when you're a guy like Patchy Mix, who's just so jiu-jitsu oriented, if you're not able to get the fight into a grappling exchange, you're not going to be able to pull off any of your great submissions or sweeps, what have you. So although I do agree, Mix is probably going to win this fight, Stamann is a really hard matchup for him to get in that first round just because he's going to be able to defend a lot of those takedowns, and it's going to come down to who gets more tired.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting because, again, we shuffled all of these. The seeding doesn't really matter. We have the champions at number one. Apart from that, we hit shuffle. But if you gave Patchy Mix a fight against Rob Font, like, I would take Mix in that fight.
Exactly.
And there's a clear path to victory. I think that's a really good point. And the Cody Stamann fight, it's a tough first fight. It really is. You have to think, if Mix doesn't get it done early, it's going to be an exhaustive type of decision.
Oh, 100%. So, although I agree Mix would get that win, it's definitely going to hinder him in the next performance.
Kyoji Horiguchi, former challenger for the belt in the UFC, Rizin champ, Bellator bantamweight champ before he had to vacate due to a terrible injury, taking on one championships champion in Bibiano Fernandes. Now, I know you can tell me Fernandes fights at 45 and it's one championship, but it's bantamweight, whatever. I'm going to put him here. You could say the same thing about Horiguchi, but he was a champ in Bellator at 35. So that rings true here. I think, again, this is a really fun fight because both guys are very, very versatile and well-rounded. I just really, really like the striking and the polish of Kyoji Horiguchi.
Exactly. Horiguchi has the pop behind his shots that Bibiano Fernandes doesn't. Although Bibiano's really good and there's not a lot of holes in his game, he just doesn't do anything exceptionally well to the degree that Horiguchi can strike. And Horiguchi on the feet, I mean, he throws hammers with rockets attached to the backs of them. Like, Horiguchi has just phenomenal striking. He reminds me of a really more well-polished John Lineker, kind of. Lineker just throws the wild shots, but he has a lot of the power. Horiguchi throws really technical shots, but he has that same level of power. So I agree Horiguchi would win this fight.
The other thing, too, with Horiguchi, the big test was supposed to be Bellator is going to send Darren Caldwell over to Rizin. It's going to be a really tough test because we know how good of a striker Horiguchi is. Can he deal with just a strict chain wrestler in Caldwell? Yeah. Sure he can.
Choke him unconscious.
Okay, so how's he going to make out if he goes back over to the States where he trains at ATT and then fights Caldwell again? Oh yeah, he's going to beat him there too. So it's interesting there. Bibiano Fernandes, a great grappler, really good wrestling too, both takedown defense and offensively. He's quite good. But yeah, I mean, I would certainly favor, especially at this point in their career, 100% Kyoji Horiguchi against 100% Bibiano Fernandes.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, our next matchup, it's somewhat compelling. It would be nice to see this rematch, but Pedro Munhoz fought Rob Font not that long ago. And although Rob Font has looked better as of late, I mean, Pedro Munhoz has only lost to Aljamain Sterling. He knocked out Cody Garbrandt. He beat the Welsh guy whose
Brett
name
Johns.
evades me. Brett Johns beat the brakes off him. And he's just looked really good as of late. So I don't think that the improvements that Rob Font have made are able to push him past Munhoz yet, at least.
That's the thing, and I know with me over on the hardcore rank, when I'm putting together my rankings, you have to try really hard not to put a lot of bias into just one loss and drop somebody.
But when it's a loss to the guy.
To me, it feels like Pedro Munhoz, since he lost the fight to Aljamain Sterling, it's like everybody thought he fell off the face of the earth. But no, he's still a really good fighter, and he beat Rob Font, and I could see that again in this fight. Yeah, I could certainly see Rob Font just going full balls to the wall and just striking the hell out of Pedro Munhoz.
He could, but Rob Font's primarily a boxer. Just think of Calvin Kattar, but not quite as good. They have very similar skill sets, of course. They train together. Pedro Munhoz throws leg kicks, head kicks, body kicks, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Those are things that Rob Font just doesn't even play with, really.
And he can easily take the fight to the
Exactly. And if you watch their first fight, Munhoz was actually able to rock Font on the feet, which opened up the takedown and the submission. So if you're able to basically drop the guy and then choke him out, it shows that you're just really well-rounded. So I would say Munhoz gets by.
And a fun rematch, though, nonetheless. Now, in our next fight, it's interesting because you've got Rizin's Manel Kape taking on Petr Yan, and a really fun fight because if you look at the Rizin talent that he's had to face, wins over, Mitsugaki and
Takeya Mitsugaki?
Yeah, Takeya Mitsugaki. Great fights way back when. And
Kai Skora?
And then, yeah, that's the big fight, the Ascora fight. But, and listen, it was a rematch, and he finished him, and Ascora was coming off of a big win in his own right to get the belt. So for Kape, I mean, just craziness all around. But Petr Yan is on another level right now.
I was gonna say,
in the UFC against some of the best competition.
He's fighting a guy who's supposed to have a title eliminator lined up as his next fight. So that just tells you how good Petr Yan is. As good as Kape is, he doesn't beat Yan. Not on this earth, at least.
No, so we're taking Petr Yan to advance. Now, your next fight, Sergio Pettis, Marlon Moraes. It's a lot of fun because if you look at Sergio Pettis' last fight, yeah, okay, UFC-wise, like, wins over what? Joseph Benavidez, some of the better guys, but at 35, it just didn't translate. It really didn't. In Bellator, he goes over, he fights Alfred Kachakian, who,
fighter?
Yeah, I mean, lost to what? Sean O'Malley when he was on Contender Series, but still, a good fighter, coming out of Glendale with Edmund Tarverdian as his head coach, and Sergio Pettis looked amazing. So it's tough to tell what Pettis you're going to get.
Here's the problem. Pettis, no matter what, is undersized at 135, and Marlon Moraes at 135 is the biggest person walking the face of the earth. By the time, because here's the thing, and I was thinking about this with Aldo for later on. If Aldo's in this tournament, it means he made weight the day before, so it means that he's going to be rehydrated back up to what Aldo normally looks like. Just size-wise, Aldo's going to have an advantage over a lot of these guys, and Marlon's going to have a similar advantage over a lot of them too, because he's as big as a 135er can get. So if you're a guy who should probably be fighting at 145, and you're fighting a guy who should be fighting at 125, and you're meeting in the middle, and both of you guys can do it pretty healthily, I just think Marlon kind of runs over Sergio. They do the same things, but one guy's so much bigger and so much more explosive than the other guy that it would be finished quite early, I think.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to a fight that we just referenced, KJ Nunes, George Gurgel. All right, no, I would certainly take Marlon Moraes.
Yeah, and he wouldn't take much damage in that one either. Sergio's a good striker, but he relies on his accuracy a lot more than just like the force behind his shots. Like, when you look at Sergio Pettis' strike, he's aiming for the end of the chin every single time. That's how he's able to drop people.
A good comparison would be Marlon Moraes when he fought Jimmy Rivera. Jimmy Rivera is a much bigger Sergio Pettis. I mean, really good boxer, can take it the distance.
Jimmy Rivera is a really good wrestler, and he likes to implement that. But striking-wise, I mean, Sergio Pettis, he has a lot more traditional martial arts. He throws a lot more kicks. I've never seen Jimmy Rivera throw a kick. But, like, I'd like to see John Dodson fight Jimmy Rivera, maybe. Just a joke from before. I think Sergio Pettis is going to lose to Marlon, no matter how the fight goes. The fight could start on the ground with him and Male, and I don't think he beat Marlon. That's how sure I am about this pick.
And I agree with you. I would take Marlon Moraes in that fight, without a doubt. Your next one, John Dodson, Jose Aldo. Listen, John Dodson looked great in his last fight against Nathaniel Wood. He really did. I mean, that's a fighter that Nathaniel Wood, and I shouldn't lump them in together, and I do, but Arnold Allen, Nathaniel Wood look like guys that could really go on runs in their respective divisions, and they just both happen to be English, but young prospects that have a lot of promise. John Dodson, all of a sudden, like, smell you later, Nathaniel Wood. I mean, and look great in that fight.
He did look really good in that fight, but again, the size problem. John Dodson, if he wants to be his best, should be at 125. I don't care how many excuses he's trying to make for staying at 135. Yes, he beat Nathaniel Wood. He's not that good at 135, and I'd really like people to wake up and see it. John Dodson at 125? No. John Dodson at 125, I don't think people get it. Like, just how good of a fighter he was. Now, I know age, it's been a while since he fought at that weight class, but again, John Dodson at 135 is never going to have the power advantage over anybody, and he's barely going to have the speed advantage over a lot of guys too. And those are the two major things that make up John Dodson's game. When you think, what does John Dodson do really well? Well, he hits really hard, and he's faster than both guys. But
look at Jose Aldo in this fight. That's the thing.
But again, yeah, you're fighting Jose Aldo, who's way bigger than you, is faster than you, and hits harder than you. So all the things you're relying on to win a fight, you're fighting a guy who just does them all exponentially better. So Jose Aldo would finish John Dodson in the first round. I'd be very confident.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to easily side with Jose Aldo. And yeah, I mean, he's lost his last two fights, but you're talking about world-class opponents.
Yeah, and you can make an argument he beat Moraes. I know I thought he did at the night. I've rewatched the fight. I still think he won. I agree that, I don't think he should get the title shot, although I did think he won his last fight. But I still think Jose Aldo, no matter what stage of his career, be it 145 or 135, isn't going to be an easy fight for anybody, no matter who he faces.
So going with Aldo there, and then on the last fight, again, a fight that's been rumored. Has it been signed for UFC San Diego? That's coming up in June, if I'm not mistaken. Cory Sandhagen, Aljamain Sterling. This is a great fight. It's just one of those things where Cory Sandhagen has had such a weird road up. He was supposed to take on Frankie Edgar, and now instead you get...
supposed to fight Dominic Cruz a handful of times too, I think.
Yeah, instead of Aljamain Sterling, now you get Aljamain Sterling, who, if this is 100% Aljamain Sterling, looks like he could be a champion in absolute world
so
beater.
I think if we did rank these guys, actually 1 through 16, Aljamain Sterling's either number 2 or number 3, because you're either going to put Petr Yan as whichever one he isn't. That's really the only argument against Aljamain Sterling. But Cory Sandhagen's in that top 5 too. Unfortunately, though, this is just a really hard matchup for Sandhagen, because I think he would be able to damage Sterling, at least during some points in the fight. But if it is a 5-round fight, Sterling's just going to be that constant. He's never going to go away, and he's going to throw absurd volume throughout the whole fight. if the fight goes to the ground, Sterling's a better grappler, I think, but I don't think he's so exponentially a better grappler that it's going to be like, oh, the second it goes to the ground, he's going to be able to sub Cory Sandhagen. But I just feel like the work rate of Sterling is going to be too much for Sandhagen over 5.
Yeah, I certainly agree with everything you have there. So definitely taking Aljamain Sterling in that one, which makes it interesting because now we have Cejudo in mix, Horiguchi, Munhoz, Petr Yan, Marlon Moraes, and Jose Aldo, Aljamain Sterling. Which, I mean, we're talking some of the best bantamweights in the world right here that made it through. So if we go from bottom to top, which we have been doing, Aljamain Sterling, Jose Aldo, really compelling fight.
It is. Here's the problem, though. Aljamain Sterling doesn't check light kicks. And here's another problem. Jose Aldo doesn't really throw them anymore. But if he decided that this is the fight Jose Aldo is going to go back and start fighting like WEC version, this would be the perfect one to do. Sterling's good at trying to close the range, and he's good at trying to just make sure that Aldo can't pot shot him from the outside. Bit of an issue, though. Jose Aldo, there's been a lot of guys with similar plans. I mean, Max Holloway had that plan, too. The difference is Max Holloway's quite a bit better than Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain is a little slow in his striking. It's just the fact he never goes away, which makes up for the fact that his striking's not the most crisp. He's not going to go out there and throw, spinning back elbows like Yair Rodriguez. What Aljamain Sterling is going to do really well, though, is he have really good Muay Thai, really good basics, and really good defense, too. We've seen him get hit, but we've never really seen him get hit to the degree, other than the Moraes fight, that really put him down. No, he's out of it. So, other than that one example, Jose Aldo fights just like Marlon Moraes, though. And for me, that's a bit of an issue in this one.
So we'll see where we go with that pick. And the other thing that you have to consider as well, I mean, if Jose Aldo is able to get an easy, and we say easy, win against John Dodson, Aljamain Sterling and Cory Sandhagen, very compelling matchup. Mm-hmm. And I'd be interested to see where it would take place. Would it be primarily on the ground? You have two really good strikers, but also two really good grapplers. And again, you get that when you're up at the top of the division 100%. That's so stacked like this. So Jose Aldo, Aljamain Sterling, really compelling matchup. Petr Yan, Marlon Moraes, same thing. I mean, you're talking 2 top 5s right now.
So Marlon, I think, hits harder. I think he's a little bit faster. I think just skill-wise, or not skill-wise, when you look at his physical abilities, he's a better athlete than Petr Yan. Marlon Moraes, no matter what sport he played, he'd probably just be really good at it. He's crazy jacked, and he's one of the better explosive guys in
probably a good chess player and golfer, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Things that really heavily rely on your athletic ability. Yan has kind of all those same things, but just not to the degree that Marlon does. Yan has one thing, though, that Marlon doesn't deal well with, and that's pressure. We saw that in the Cejudo fight. Marlon's a way better striker than Henry Cejudo, and he proved it for 10 minutes, and then once that power bar of Marlon started to go down, and that's the thing that we know about him, that power, it gets drained pretty quickly. If Yan could just not get knocked out early on in this fight, we know the storm that he brings and just how constant it is. Yan fights a lot like how Aljamain Sterling does. He just doesn't throw as much, but the shots he does throw are way more damaging. And I think eventually it would get to Marlon, where he'd start eating a few shots. He'd start to realize, oh, this is like a really competitive fight. I don't know if I want to be in here all that much. And then eventually Yan would kind of make him quit, I think.
I think that's one of the more compelling. And again,
that's your fight of the round.
All of these fights are great. I think, yeah, that is your fight of the round because you have 2 pressure fighters, but you've got one guy that just has that much more pressure. And we've seen it from Petr Yan, especially with, bricks in his hands. Oh, yeah. And you look at the fight against Uriah Faber, and it's, again, we talked about this in some of the different divisions, but Petr Yan, Jinsu Sun and Petr Yan was a fun fight. Both guys were able to kind of do their thing. John Dodson, again, kind of similar. But there comes a point where you're fighting Petr Yan where you just can't get started. Yeah. And that's where I could see Marlon Moraes starting to falter. Again, just similar to the Cejudo fight.
And it's a fight that was booked. Hopefully we can get it rebooked in the future because I cannot stress how exciting of a fight this would be if these two ever did get matched up.
So great fight there going with Petr Yan. Your next one, Horiguchi and Pedro Munhoz. It's an interesting one. I think. But Pedro Munhoz is a big bantamweight. Kyoji Horiguchi, not that he's not a big bantamweight, but he's not as big of a bantamweight as Pedro Munhoz. And the other thing I would have to worry about is the jiu-jitsu abilities of Pedro Munhoz in a fight like that.
So the speed for Horiguchi is 100% going to be on his side, but eventually he's going to slow down to kind of a Pedro Munhoz speed. And even a guy like Cody Garbrandt, I mean, he had a huge speed advantage over Pedro Munhoz, but Munhoz was able, just timing-wise, he's really good at that. He realizes that, okay, I'm not the fastest guy, I'm not the most athletic guy, but maybe he would be good at chess and golf because timing-wise, he's really good at figuring out, okay, when I throw this shot, he should be open defensively for it. So I just feel like the fight IQ of Pedro Munhoz is one of the higher ones regardless of division, and he'd be able to eke out a win against Horiguchi. And I know we're not really talking about injuries and whatnot, but Horiguchi's currently undergoing like some pretty major rehab for a knee injury. So even if he makes it through that, he probably wouldn't be 100% of what, the OG Horiguchi was. So I think Munhoz would make it through.
So we'll see where we go with that one. And Henry Cejudo, Patchy mix, while it is an exciting fight, you have to think, again, that full complement that Henry Cejudo brings. He's one of those guys that went from 125 let's just give him one of the top 35 and see how he does against Marlon Moraes, and he did very well.
Exactly. And if we thought that Patchy might not be able to implement his game plan against Cody Stamann, who's a good wrestler, what do you think Henry Cejudo would do to him? Like, if your whole game plan is, I have to take this guy down and choke him out, you're fighting a guy who's not just the best MMA wrestler ever. I mean, Henry Cejudo's an Olympic gold medalist. He achieved the thing most people can't even dream of overcoming. So you become Triple C for a reason, and I think you beat Patchy.
So let's move on to the next round. We've got Munhoz beating Horiguchi. We've got Sterling beating Aldo, but that'd be a really good fight. So you've got Sterling, Yan, and Munhoz Cejudo. Now, I see one of these is a little bit more clear-cut than the other.
So do I.
And that would be the Cejudo-Munhoz fight. And just simply because, yes, if Pedro Munhoz has, above all, great grappling and great jiu-jitsu, Henry Cejudo, and I keep saying it, but it's that full complement of skills where he's not allowing Munhoz to start. He's moving in and out so well. You have to worry about the wrestling, the feints. It's that new karate stance, too, that would really give fits to a guy like Pedro Munhoz, because you're not just square boxer coming in on a line. You've got a guy that does so many things and creates angles so well, like Henry Cejudo. I think Pedro Munhoz would struggle.
I think so, too. And the speed difference between these two would be massive. Although Cejudo did fight at 125, he's a big 135er. Like, it was a very hard struggle for him to make that weight. So 135, much more natural division for him. And Patchy Mix wouldn't be that hard of a fight for Henry Cejudo. So if we are taking into account the fights they had previously, let's be honest, he probably knocks out Garbrandt fairly quick. He probably beats Mix by stoppage as well. We've got a fresh Henry Cejudo making it to the semifinals, and he would be Pedro Munhoz. Regardless of the fights they had before, Henry Cejudo would be Pedro Munhoz.
And then in the next one, Petr Yan taking on Aljamain Sterling. Now, Aljamain Sterling, I would hazard to guess, had a tougher road to get there. Sandhagen and Aldo. And Petr Yan, Marlon Moraes, no slouch, and also Manel Kape, but still, this is a great fight. I mean, Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, listen, straight up, I want to see Sterling fight Sandhagen. I want to see him fight Aldo. And I want to see him fight Yan and throw Moraes into the mix as well. And Cejudo. I want to see him fight all of these guys. Too. I just wish he could fight more. But we get him against Petr Yan here. But it's been a tougher road. I mean, still, what do you see in this fight?
I see two guys who do a lot of things similar. The wrestling and jiu-jitsu of Sterling, he'd have an advantage in it, but he wouldn't have that advantage till about the third round. Yan has such a big storm that I keep on going back to that I think the power would get to Sterling eventually, because Sterling, with all the good things that I've said about how good he is defensively, when he gets his back to the cage, he's not good defensively. He's very similar to Kelvin Gastelum in that respect, where no matter where they are in the cage, they're pretty good. But there's just that one position where they kind of falter because they don't really know, okay, do I move left? Do I move right? Because I can't really just back it with my chin up anymore. So I've got to figure out defensively just other few things I have to do. Yan, if he gets you to the cage, which is probably going to happen in Petr Yan fight, unloads on you. I mean, you can say what you want about Uriah Faber at this stage of his career, but what he did to that man was damn near criminal. So I think Yan, the power would get to Sterling, but this is not an easy fight by any means.
So I'm going to say Aljamain Sterling, but again, it's a really, really close fight. Or
I'm
maybe not.
Petr Yan.
Yeah, let's both go with Petr Yan. But still, that's the thing. I mean, you could go either way with that fight. It's kind of...
It's a fight that needs to happen in real life.
Once you get to that point in the bracket, too, like I opened up with, the fact that there's going to be an accumulation of damage on your way through with Sterling versus maybe not as much with Yan. There's certainly a clear path to victory for Yan in that one. Now, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo is an interesting fight. And again, the numbers next to the names don't mean a single thing. You've got 1 versus 14. But Petr Yan and Henry Cejudo is interesting for a lot of different reasons, because we've seen it where Petr Yan, if he's able to go in there, whether it's a wrestler or grappler, and he's able to push, he can get a win. We've got him beating Aljamain Sterling for that reason. But could he do it against a guy like Henry Cejudo?
Yes and no. I think he would be able to do it for at least some portion of the fight. It really just depends on how Cejudo responds to the pressure. Because if he responds to the pressure by wrestling, I genuinely think that's the worst thing he could do. I know Cejudo is the better wrestler of the two, but I wouldn't want him wasting all of his energy just going for the takedowns against Yan, especially early. Because if you're Cejudo, you really want to bet on the fact that, okay, Yan, he's going to be really heavy with his volume, really heavy with his power, but you can't keep that up for 25 minutes because no one can. So if Cejudo was really able to fight smart, work behind the jab, he'd have to make it kind of a boring fight for about 3 rounds. Really make Yan work, though, and then his wrestling be able to open up. So I'm not saying don't go for takedowns, just wrestle in a smart manner that makes them more tired than you are. If it's on the feet, though, this fight's very hard for Henry Cejudo. I know he said a lot of good things about his striking, how he switched it up recently, but Petr Yan is good striking no matter who you are, not just for a guy who Seems like they started striking at least at a higher level later on in their career, like Cejudo. So it's a very compelling matchup. Both guys have good things that they bring to the table. Personally, I looked at Cejudo. I think he would be the winner by the end of it. And especially if this was just made up as like, oh, these two are fighting for the title, UFC 250 will say, Cejudo would be my favorite, but I can definitely see a lot of opportunity for Yan to win.
And that's the thing, too, and it's interesting, again, with the strength of it. You've got a guy taking on Manel Kape, and then Moraes, and then Sterling versus Cejudo, who's fought Garbrandt, Mix, and Munhoz. I would certainly think that Cejudo, rather, would have a bit of a clearer path to this fight. And yeah, I could see him winning it. I mean, you talk about Petr Yan, and we've seen it. We've never seen him in a 5-rounder.
No, yeah.
And in the third round, yeah, he keeps moving, but he slows a little bit, and that's where you'd have to worry, where it's 5-round fight, 5-round fight, 5-round fight, especially having 5 rounds against Aljamain Sterling. If it goes 5 rounds, it's a really tough road to get
Petr
there.
Yan has one thing to hold on to, though. If I went back and watched the Marlon versus Cejudo fight, I would be really happy if I'm Yan, because the only reason Marlon lost that fight is because he got tired. If he kept that pace up and striking the way that he was throughout the first two, he was beating the brakes off Henry. Like, it wasn't even a competition until Henry Cejudo just figured out, okay, I can't kick with this guy, I can't stand at this range, but if I close the gap really close, he can't hit me nearly as hard. And Cejudo just kind of made it an ugly fight, which was really surprising to see come from him. So Cejudo can go to that C plan, that B plan, the D plan. He's got a lot of different tricks in his bag that he can always reach to. So yeah, Henry Cejudo will win this tournament.
All right, Matt. Henry Cejudo, your champ, staying the champ and winning the bracket challenge. But Matt, I mean, with Parry Counter, we've had a lot of different things. Yeah. We've had wild questions in the past. We've done these brackets before, but now we're doing a whole week of them, so make sure you check them out from flyweight all the way up to heavyweight. They're going to come out in sequence, starting with 125. So make sure you find those here in the playlist. We really appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at CraigAllenFNP, at MattAllenFNP. You can find us at Fight Night Picks as well, and continue to submit those questions even below here. And who do you think would win this one? I mean, maybe you've got Bibiano Fernandes going all the way to the finals against Jose Aldo. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. And as we always like to say, Matt, with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.